Recap. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 933. Chapter. In the gathering hall, the atmosphere had already grown heavy with tension. Those present were not ordinary cultivators. Many were elites who had stepped beyond the mortal path and entered the heavenly body tier. To such figures, the shattering void tier was nothing more than a lower stage of cultivation, a realm whose practitioners rarely commanded their attention. Yet the moment Ling Han raised his hand and condensed power within his palm, something unusual stirred in the air. The force contained in that single strike was far from ordinary. The gathered elites could instantly sense it. The energy surging within that palm did not merely reach the upper limits of the shattering void tier. It had already surpassed the threshold of 20 stars. The sheer density of power rippling from that strike caused these lofty figures to shift their gazes. Breaking through the natural limits of a cultivation level was no simple matter. To exceed such boundaries meant that the cultivator possessed extraordinary potential. Anyone capable of doing so might one day ascend to astonishing heights upon the martial path. Among those present was Ye Chengyun. His battle prowess had already reached 21 stars within the shattering void tier, placing him among the top representatives of the empire. Naturally, he too had to take part in the competition on behalf of the chaotic star's majestic empire. Though his strength was formidable, he knew all too well that advancing to the mountain river tier was not something one could accomplish overnight. Such breakthroughs required time, preparation, and countless opportunities. However, Ye Chengyun had once witnessed Ling Han's terrifying battle strength with his own eyes. And so the instant he realized that Ling Han was about to unleash an attack, fear shot through his body like lightning. His scalp tingled. Without hesitation, he sprang out of his chair as though flames had suddenly ignited beneath him. With astonishing speed, he fled from his seat as if his life depended on it. To outsiders, his reaction was utterly baffling. Within the Eastern Institution's shattering void tier division, Ye Chengyun was recognized as the strongest elite. His reputation alone was enough to deter challengers. Once he occupied a seat, no one dared contest him. After all, to drag down someone with battle prowess of 21 stars would require at least 10 experts, with 20-star strength joining forces. Yet among those gathered here, there might not even be 5 cultivators capable of reaching 20 stars. So who would be foolish enough to provoke him? And yet, the very moment Ling Han prepared to strike, this supreme elite fled without hesitation. The surrounding cultivators stared in disbelief. Had Ye Chengyun gone mad? Had he been possessed? Why else would he abandon his seat and escape as though he had encountered a terrifying beast? Their confusion lasted only an instant, because at that very moment, Ling Han's palm descended. Hong. A brilliant surge of golden light burst forth like a rising sun. The terrifying shockwave swept across the courtyard in an instant. Ping! Ping! One after another, figures were blasted into the air. It was as though a celestial maiden had scattered flowers across the sky. Bodies flew in every direction, spinning helplessly as the force of the strike hurled them across the grounds. Some crashed heavily onto the stone floor. Some were smashed down together with their chairs. Others tumbled headfirst into the surrounding bushes. In the blink of an eye, chaos filled the scene. Only one person had escaped the disaster: Ye Chengyun. Thanks to his foresight and lightning-fast retreat, he had avoided the devastating impact entirely. Everyone else had been swept away by the overwhelming strike. Most of them collapsed unconscious the moment they struck the ground. Only a rare few remained conscious, and even they lay there trembling, their eyes wide with disbelief. This power, was it not a little too terrifying? In the distance, Ye Chengyun watched the aftermath with a twitch at the corner of his mouth. He had already known that Ling Han's attack would be powerful, but seeing its true might unfold before his eyes still caused a chill to run down his spine. Was this really the strength of a shattering void tier cultivator? Monster. There was no other word for it. This was simply too monstrous. Even the left minister, who had witnessed countless talents throughout his long life, could not hide a trace of astonishment. Previously, he had only known that Ling Han had ascended by opening the sky, a feat that implied battle prowess reaching 20 stars. Such strength would already be enough to bring honor to the empire in the coming competition. But who could have imagined that this young man would be so terrifying? The left minister fell silent for a moment. When he himself had been young, had he ever possessed such strength? After pondering briefly, he slowly shook his head. This was the first time he truly examined Ling Han with seriousness. Until now, he had underestimated this emperor who had risen from a small world. Perhaps, in the distant future, this young man might become a supreme expert. The thought flashed through the left minister's mind like a shooting star, yet he quickly laughed it off. Strength in the present did not guarantee greatness in the future. Throughout the ages, countless geniuses had risen only to fall before reaching the summit. The world never lacked geniuses. What it lacked were those capable of truly standing at the peak. Many individuals whom people had once dismissed had eventually risen to become legendary figures. Conversely, many celebrated prodigies had vanished along the path of cultivation. The martial road was filled with countless unpredictable twists. And beyond that, for a heavenly body tier expert to appear, even 1,000,000 years might pass without one emerging. Such existences were incredibly rare. Still, no matter how one looked at it, Ling Han's present display was nothing short of extraordinary. He stood amidst the scattered wreckage with an aura of effortless dominance, calm, composed, invincible. Without any hesitation, he casually picked up a chair and placed it upright. Then he sat down. Alone. His posture was relaxed, yet the atmosphere around him made it clear. No one here could stand on equal footing with him. Nearby, the Ninth King stared at him with wide eyes. Her small mouth formed a perfect circle of astonishment. Unlike the older officials present, she did not ponder complicated matters such as future cultivation or political consequences. Her mind held only one simple thought. That strike had been incredible. Great. Amazing, she exclaimed. Clapping her hands excitedly, she kicked her legs like a delighted child. Her carefree reaction immediately drew the attention of everyone around her. Realizing that all eyes had turned toward her, the Ninth King quickly stuck out her tongue in embarrassment, looking even more childish than before. Only then did Ye Chengyun cautiously return. He inhaled sharply, still recovering from the shock. Pulling up a chair, he hesitated. There was no way he would dare sit beside Ling Han. Instead, he deliberately placed his chair slightly behind Ling Han's seat before sitting down. One by one, the cultivators who had remained conscious slowly climbed back to their feet. Each of them dragged over a chair. But just like Ye Chengyun, none dared align their seats beside Ling Han. They all positioned themselves slightly behind him. It was an unspoken gesture of respect. Ling Han's strength had already surpassed their level by a vast margin. After counting the seated cultivators, the officials realized something surprising. There were exactly 10 of them. Which meant no further battles were necessary. The top 10 had already been decided. The left minister and the other high officials exchanged astonished glances. Could it be that when Ling Han unleashed that palm strike, he had already calculated this outcome? If so, the depth of this young man's ability was even more remarkable than they had assumed. But in truth, Ling Han had not planned such a precise result. When he delivered that strike, he had simply controlled its power carefully. He ensured that the strongest cultivators would remain conscious while the weaker ones would be knocked out. He had not anticipated that the number of remaining fighters would turn out to be exactly 10. Thus Ma Xing, Yang Xi, and the others all took their seats. Meanwhile, the right minister and the 7 great generals cast several additional glances toward Ling Han. A shattering void-tier cultivator of such monstrous strength naturally drew their attention. They memorized his name. Yet beyond that, they did nothing further. On the other hand, the Ninth King remained visibly excited. Her eyes sparkled as she turned toward Ling Han. "What is your name?" she asked eagerly. Ling Han immediately rose from his seat. His posture was respectful, but neither humble nor arrogant. Calmly, he replied, "I am Ling Han." The Ninth King clapped her hands again in delight. "This time we'll definitely win first place," she exclaimed happily. "Hehe, this is the first time I've done something so well for Big Sister. From now on, no one can call me a little idiot anymore." The moment those words left her mouth, she froze. Realizing what she had just said, she quickly stuck out her tongue again. Once more, she had embarrassed herself. All right," she said hurriedly. "You can all go back now." Flustered, she waved her hands repeatedly, clearly eager to dismiss everyone before they laughed at her. No one dared disobey. After all, the command of the Ninth King was equivalent to the command of the Empress herself. Within the chaotic star's majestic empire, no one would dare oppose such authority, thus everyone quickly withdrew. Among the 10 selected representatives, 7 came from the Scarlet Heaven Academy. The remaining 6 followed closely behind Ling Han as they left. Their attitudes had changed completely. They walked behind him with the respect of subordinates accompanying a superior. In their eyes shone clear admiration, almost fanatic devotion. These were cultivators whose battle prowess had already reached 19 or 20 stars. They understood better than anyone how difficult it was to reach such limits, which meant they also understood the true significance of Ling Han surpassing that boundary, that palm strike earlier. To them, it was no less than witnessing a miracle. As they entered the Scarlet Heaven Academy together, the group naturally formed around Ling Han, flanking him like loyal followers. Those who witnessed this scene could not help but click their tongues in amazement. Elsewhere, a waterfall thundered endlessly as torrents of water crashed down from the cliffs above. At the base of the waterfall stood Zhao Lun. Just as before, he remained motionless beneath the rushing water. He was cultivating a secret technique. For this cultivation method, he could not move his body. Instead, he had to stand still and carefully observe the waterfall's rhythm, studying the patterns hidden within its endless flow. At that moment, Zhao Lun suddenly raised his brow. Oh? A faint smile appeared on his lips. So this person from a small world, his battle prowess has actually surpassed 20 stars? His voice carried a hint of surprise. Standing nearby was Zuo Xiao, who had just finished recounting the events that had occurred several days earlier. Yes, young master, Zuo Xiao replied respectfully. Even he could not hide a trace of admiration. The ability displayed by that so-called ant from a small world had exceeded his expectations. Luo Ba had been defeated in a single strike, and Ling Han had successfully secured a place as one of the chaotic star's majestic empire's representatives for the upcoming competition. Zhao Lun narrowed his eyes slightly. Since he has obtained the right to participate in the competition, killing him now will not be easy. If the Empress were to pursue the matter. When Zhao Lun mentioned the Empress of the chaotic star's majestic empire, his body involuntarily shivered. Even a prodigy like him felt a chill at the mere thought of that woman. Within the empire, she was regarded as an eternal legend. In the hearts of its citizens, the Empress was an invincible existence, one that no one could ever surpass. Young master, Zuo Xiao asked cautiously, what do you intend to do? He knew Zhao Lun's temperament well. There was no chance that the young master would simply let Ling Han go. Zhao Lun suddenly burst into laughter. We shall let him live for now. Once the competition between the 3 empires concludes, we will kill him. Then his expression turned cold. However, that doesn't mean we will allow him to live peacefully. You will go make some arrangements. As Zhao Lun issued his instructions, a sinister smile slowly spread across Zuo Xiao's face. Ha! Even if that brat manages to survive tonight, he will soon find himself facing the hatred of the Western institution. The storm surrounding Ling Han had only just begun. Within the quiet residence allotted to him in the academy, Ling Han sat cross-legged in tranquil meditation. His breathing rose and fell like the tide, steady and measured, while the flow of his internal energy circulated through his meridians in powerful cycles. At this moment, his mind was focused entirely on the profound path of the 6 techniques. Return to 1. The deeper he explored this technique, the more he sensed the hidden mysteries within it unfolding before him, like layers of mist dispersing beneath the morning sun. His cultivation was advancing rapidly, and it was not only his comprehension that aided him. Ling Han possessed ample wealth. With spirit coins at his disposal, he could freely purchase large quantities of precious alchemical pills. These pills nourished his body, strengthened his cultivation base, and accelerated his progress at a speed that ordinary cultivators could only dream of. Because of this combination, deep understanding and abundant resources, his strength was growing at a truly astonishing rate. If things continued at this pace, he estimated that in half a year, perhaps even sooner, he would reach the absolute limit of 20 stars of battle power within the Shattering Void tier. Just as this thought crossed his mind, Ling Han's expression shifted. His eyes opened. For the briefest instant, a trace of alertness flickered across his face. Then, in the next moment, every strand of hair on his body stood upright. Someone had appeared, and they had appeared without the slightest warning. Standing within his courtyard was a mysterious figure dressed entirely in black. The person wore black robes, a veil concealed the face, even a cloak draped over the body, hiding the outline of the figure completely, so that neither height nor build could be clearly distinguished. Ling Han's gaze sharpened. Another assassin? Could this be yet another killer sent by the Dark Knight Hall? But the thought immediately caused him to hesitate. Would the Dark Knight Hall truly dare to be so bold? This was the Scarlet Heaven Academy. An assassin brazenly infiltrating the academy grounds and attacking a student here would be an act of unbelievable audacity. Before Ling Han could fully analyze the situation, "Die!" The black-robed figure let out a cold snort. Without hesitation, the mysterious attacker moved. A palm shot forward. The strike came directly toward Ling Han. But the moment Ling Han saw the movement, confusion flickered through his mind. Why? Why was the attack so slow? From behind the black-robed figure, the faint illusions of 3 mountains and rivers flickered into existence. This clearly indicated the cultivation of a higher-level mountain river tier expert. Yet the power contained within that palm strike only carried the strength of roughly 22 to 23 stars of the Shattering Void tier. That level of force was completely inconsistent with the cultivation level of someone in the higher stages of the mountain river tier. Ling Han reacted instantly. With a swift leap, he evaded the incoming strike. Shoo! The black-robed figure pursued him like a shadow. Another palm descended toward him. This time, the attack carried noticeably greater strength. The force behind it had risen to approximately 25 stars of Shattering Void tier. For Mountain River tier cultivators, raising their battle power by 2 additional stars of Shattering Void tier was an incredibly trivial matter. It required little more than a casual thought. Ling Han frowned deeply. Without hesitation, he dodged once again and immediately fled from his courtyard. The black-robed man followed relentlessly. Palm after palm struck out. Yet something strange became increasingly clear. Although the man pursued him aggressively, he never unleashed an attack that truly reached the Mountain River tier. Instead, every strike remained restrained within the limits of the Shattering Void tier. And more importantly, the attack seemed to guide Ling Han's movements. It was as though the man was deliberately herding him toward a particular location. One pursued. One fled. Their figures streaked across the academy grounds like shadows racing through the night. In the blink of an eye, they had already left the northern institution and were moving toward the western section of the academy. At that moment, realization dawned upon Ling Han. So that was the plan. The man intended to drive him straight into the territory of the western institution. Within the Scarlet Heaven Academy, the 4 great institutions existed in constant rivalry. Their relationship was far from friendly. In truth, it was more accurate to say they were as incompatible as fire and water. If a student of the Northern Institution were to suddenly appear within the Western Institution, the consequences would be obvious. He would be mercilessly beaten. This mysterious figure intended to use the students of the Western Institution to teach Ling Han a lesson. Ling Han's mind moved quickly. This person could not be from the Dark Knight Hall. If he truly were an assassin from that organization, why go through such unnecessary trouble? Moreover, how could a Dark Knight Hall assassin even enter the Scarlet Heaven Academy? Such a person would have been discovered and killed long ago. Yet here stood a black-robed man committing what was practically a public assault. What did this imply? It meant that the upper authorities of the academy must already know this person's identity. And yet, they had not intervened. That meant they were wary of whoever stood behind this mysterious figure. Ling Han's thoughts sharpened instantly. There was only one possible answer. Zhao Lun. This black-robed attacker must be one of Zhao Lun's subordinates, and the academy's higher-ups clearly understood that Zhao Lun would not do anything too extreme. Thus, they chose to turn a blind eye. After all, Zhao Lun was the only son of the great General Zhao. Who would dare refuse him a little face? Just as Ling Han finished piecing together the situation, peng! The black-robed man suddenly unleashed a heavy strike. This time, Ling Han was struck squarely. His body was sent flying through the air like a meteor. A loud crash echoed as he slammed violently into the wall of a courtyard. "Who's there? Who is it?" Voices erupted immediately. This place happened to be the dormitory area for the Shattering Void Tier cultivators of the Western Institution. The moment the commotion occurred, a large number of students rushed out to investigate. They quickly discovered Ling Han standing amid the rubble of the shattered wall. As for the black-robed man, he had already vanished without a trace. Ling Han rose calmly to his feet. The last blow had not contained the attacker's full strength. However, it had been delivered so suddenly that Ling Han had no chance to dodge. Still, the strike was far from enough to harm him. Around him, more and more students gathered. Soon someone recognized him. A student from the Northern Institution. "It's Ling Han, the #1 new student of this batch." Damn it! Does he think that just because his battle power has surpassed 20 stars, he can come swaggering into our Western Institution? Beat him up. The Shattering Void Tier division of the Western Institution contained roughly 2,000 students, and every single one of them had studied in the academy for more than 5 years. Even the weakest among them possessed at least 15 stars of battle power. With so many cultivators gathered together, what Shattering Void Tier fighter would dare stand against them? Furthermore, Ling Han had clearly intruded upon the territory of the Western Institution. If he got beaten, he could only blame himself. Who could he possibly complain to? Say he was forced? Forced by whom? That mysterious black-robed man? Please, anyone could wear a black robe. Would that make them the same person? Inside his heart, Ling Han gave a cold laugh. Zhao Lun was truly causing trouble for him. Killing him directly within the academy was impossible. But making life difficult for him? That was easy for the son of great General Zhao. If Ling Han lost, he would be severely beaten. If he won, then he would provoke the fury of the Western Institution's Mountain River Tier students. After all, charging alone into the Western Institution and fighting their disciples would seem unbearably arrogant. Ling Han recalled Shu Yanyu's earlier words. Zhao Lun was like a poisonous snake. The description truly could not have been more accurate. Hong! Dozens of Western Institution students rushed forward immediately. With their overwhelming numbers, they naturally felt no fear at all. Ling Han calmly reached out and grabbed one of them. Pulling the man in front of him as a human shield, he smiled slightly. "Everyone," he said lightly, "I accidentally lost my way and wandered here. My apologies. I'll be leaving now. Let's part without hard feelings, shall we?" "Humph. You dare barge into the Western Institution and think you can just walk away? Ling Han, aren't you a little too arrogant? So what? You're planning to brag later that you stormed our Western Institution alone and left unscathed? In your dreams." The crowd attacked again, but because Ling Han held a hostage in front of him, they hesitated. "If you have the guts, stop hiding behind someone." "That's right. Fight us properly," they shouted provocatively. Ling Han could not help but laugh. Several hundred, perhaps even over 1,000 people against a single opponent. And they still called that a fair fight? Still, he truly had nothing to fear. "If you all want to fight, then let's fight." With a casual motion, Ling Han tossed the hostage aside. What reason did he have to hide? "Haha! Beat him!" Dozens of students surged forward again. Even more people gathered around the battlefield to watch. A casual strike from a Shattering Void Tier cultivator could easily travel over 30 meters. But with more than 1,000 fighters present, they simply could not attack simultaneously. Ling Han clenched his right hand into a fist. Then he punched. Peng! The power of that punch was terrifying. It was like a mountain crashing down from the heavens. In an instant, more than a dozen students were blasted into the air. They flew backward and immediately lost consciousness. Shock rippled through the crowd. What kind of monstrous strength was this? A single punch had sent over 10 of them flying? Every one of these students had been selected by the Scarlet Heaven Academy. Each of them was a genius among geniuses. "Everyone attack! I refuse to believe we can't defeat him with so many of us." Like a raging ocean, the crowd surged forward once more. But every time Ling Han threw a punch, another dozen people were sent flying like straw dolls. Each strike knocked them unconscious instantly. They lost all ability to continue fighting. After slightly more than 10 punches, over 200 students lay sprawled across the ground. Even though nearly 1,800 students of the Western institution still remained standing, that was merely a matter of another 100 punches or so. Too terrifying. How could a shattering void tier cultivator possess such strength? They were all humans. Why was the difference between them so vast? Did Ling Han perhaps train inside some secret small world filled with countless trials? Is there anyone else? Ling Han asked calmly. His gaze swept across the remaining 1,800 students. Every person his eyes passed over instinctively lowered their head. None dared meet his gaze. He clearly did not possess King's Qi. Yet his presence carried overwhelming pressure. Attack! We can't let him leave so easily. If he walks away today, what pride will our Western institutions still have? No matter what, we must stop him.